Hey guys, this is Kaushik from fackinterview.in. Today in this screencast, I'll show you how to create a WCF service. Before we start developing the WCF service, let's first talk about the service, what it will do in general, and based on that we can plan the classes and interfaces that will be needed for the service. In this case, we will create an employee class. We will expose that over the WCF service to enable the end user create an employee, retrieve the list of the employees, and that's pretty much it for the demo. So let's start. Go to Visual Studio, click on the new project, choose WCF here, click on WCF Service Library, name it Employee Service Library. Press enter. So at this point of time, Visual Studio is creating your project. Now you can see Visual Studio has created a service called service1.cs and an interface called iservice1.cs. We will be deleting both of them and create our own implementation. Okay, let's start then. We'll start by adding a class and we'll name it employee. Let's make this public, and as we discussed, we'll be having a few properties over here. One is of type GUID employee ID. Other one will be string type name, and a datetime property joined on, and that's pretty much okay for our demonstration today. So in order to make this particular class a data contract for the WCF service, we need to add this annotation that is called data contract. We need to add the namespace here, which is system.runtime.serialization. Once that is done, we need to add data member attribute to the property we want to expose to the client. In this case, we'll be adding all three of them. So that's pretty much it with the class. Now go ahead and create the interface. So I'll name it as employee service. Let's make it public. And if you remember, we discussed about two functions that we'll be having here. One is create employee, other is retrieving the employee, that is get employees. So let's go ahead and create the employee first. Okay, it will have certain parameters. Let's go back to the class and see what all they will be. So name, this will be provided by the end user, so this will be input parameter. This we will auto generate, and this also will be auto generated. So in this case, we just have a string type property here, and that's called employee name. Oops, employee name. Okay, then another thing will be list of employee, because we are going to return a list when we say get employees, and that is our second function. Now in order to make it a service contract, we need to add service contract annotation, and as you can see, this is coming from system.service model. So these will also have certain annotation, and they are called operation contract. We need to add it for both of them, and our interface is also ready. Now add another class which will have the service implementation. We'll call it as employee service. Let's make it public, and this will have employee service interface. Let's implement the interface. So Visual Studio has done the hard work for us and given us the placeholder where we can write code in order to get these functions up and running. For this demo, we will make this service a singleton. The way we do it generally is service behavior. You need to add the namespace for this. It is in system.service model, and then you say instance context mode equals instance context mode dot single. What that will do is we can maintain our list of employee in memory and save us some time, because we are just implementing a very simple WCF service here. So we'll call it list of, excuse me for that move, list of employee equals new list of employee. Okay, so return will be return list of employee, and that should be all right. Creating employee, how we'll do it, we basically will create an employee instance and add it to the list. So how we can do this is list of employee dot add. Now if you see here, you need an employee type item. How we can do this is either you can have a employee equals to new employee and then add it later, or a better way of doing it is new employee and then you can initialize this. So this will become GUID dot new, joined on will be datetime dot now, and name will be employee name, the name that is provided by the end user. Okay, so that's it. Here if you see, Visual Studio is complaining a little because the parentheses are not in a correct order. Now it should do all right. Let's quickly build it and see if that works. So build is successful, as you can see here. There will be a couple of things that we need to do. In the app config file, if you see here, we don't have our iService1 anymore because we deleted it. So we need to update this configuration. The easiest way of doing it is right click on the app config file, go to edit WCF configuration. So you can see here it is listing all these names, host, endpoints over here. Now we have to change the service because service 1 doesn't exist. We need to go and pick the exact service that we have just created, which is employee service. So now that is fixed, we will head over to the endpoint binding. If the contract you see, it is iService1, which is no longer there because we deleted it earlier. We need to update this as well. So it is now called iEmployee service. Double click on that and it is updated. Save this file. You can close it if you want, and see it is saying it has been modified, the app config. So that particular editor window, what it does basically is update this app config file. Click on yes and the whole thing is updated. as per your latest change, whatever you have made in that wizard. Now we can run the service. Let's click on start. So if you can see the service, it says employee service started, metadata address is this. Okay, we close this. You can see the create employee and create employee. Let's quickly test it. Double click on the create employee and you can see here it is asking for a name. So I will provide my name here and then say invoke. So it returned a null because our return type is void. Now let's see if it has created that employee for us. We'll click on get employee, invoke. You can see one particular row has been returned here, and that has name Kaushik with certain employee ID which is auto generated and joined on, which is datetime.now. So that means our service is working. We have created a sample WCF service which creates an employee and also which retrieves the employee list for us. That's it for this demo. In the next demo we'll cover how the service endpoints can change, how the contract and everything else we can tweak a little, and we'll basically deep dive into the test client, WCF test client. We'll try to implement our own test client and that sort of stuff. So if you like this particular tutorial, subscribe us, visit our channel and stay tuned for more update. Thank you for watching.